The next teller is from southeastern Massachusetts, which makes her a masshole. Those that get it, get it. Those that don't, it's a badge of honor because that nickname was given to them by New Yorkers who thought the drivers in Boston are so bad, they called them massholes. This next teller, Cindy Berryman-Fink, proudly calls herself a masshole. She is amazing in every which way except her choice in men. We've been married for 46 years. Poor baby doll. And I must say, speaking of masshole, when we were first dating, we were both living in Cincinnati, and I noticed she never uses her turn signal. So I said, Cindy, use your turn signal. And here's the answer I got. Use my blinker? Why would I use my blinker? If I use my blinker, the other guy would know where I'm going. Today, we're taking a little hike in Weaverville, where we live, in the little park. And I said, are you nervous? She said, why should I be nervous? I was a professor of communication for 31 years. This little 5'0" frame is that strong. And I'm just saying that to see if I could rile you up before I introduce Cynthia Berryman-Fink, my wife. Ain't she cute?
And I'm 5 foot half an inch.
Oh,
you
yeah.
said 5 foot nothing. Thank you, dear. Thank you. That's right. Yes. Thank you, dear. So, as a young teenager, I loved slumber parties. 5 or 6, I see women nodding their heads, 5 or 6 of us girls sleeping on blankets or sleeping bags in the basement of someone's house. I love the slumber parties. But I was always the girl whose bra, size 28 AA, would be filled with water and frozen overnight. You're asking why? That was the penalty for being the first one to fall asleep. You know, the goal of a slumber party was to stay awake all night. I could make it till 10, 10:30, maybe 11. And so one time I decided I'm going to keep the bra on under the nightgown. They're not going to freeze my bra tonight. But I was such a sound sleeper. Those girls, Diane, Joanne, Amy, Carol, got the bra off of me while I was still asleep. I never woke up. And they froze it again. You're not freezing my bra, are you, tonight? So, I have been a sundowner, a long sleeper my whole life. As a little kid, real little kid, I didn't mind going to bed. I didn't mind taking naps. And many a morning when Mom would wake me up to go to school, if it was a cold, cold morning, I would crawl across the rug in the living room and curl up in front of our kerosene heater and fall back to sleep. She'd have to wake me up again to get me dressed and go to school. I have slept on average 10 hours a night. I did that as a high schooler, as a college student, as a working professional raising kids, and even now in retirement, I sleep about 10 hours a night. Wow. And they say in retirement, you know, when you're older, you don't need as much sleep. Hogwash. Hogwash. But in addition to being a long sleeper, I am also a partier. It said under my yearbook photo in high school, loves to party. Now you might be thinking long sleeping and partying are contradictory. No, they go quite well together. Trust me, they go quite well together, and I'm going to explain how. So probably the first parties I went to, maybe I was 11 or 12, up the street from where I lived was a VFW hall, Veterans of Foreign War Hall. So I could walk up there where we'd have dances. And I loved it. I could dance and have fun. But I could leave and walk home. It was like a 10-minute walk home. So I would often leave before the dance was over and be home asleep in bed by 8:30, 9:30, whatever. And then I also, as a young person, did CYO, Catholic Youth Organization, activities where the bus would be at the church parking lot and we'd get on and it would take us to roller rinks or movie theaters or bowling alleys. And I love that. I love great fun, all of those activities. But I would fall asleep immediately when I got on the bus. The bus would maybe drive 20 minutes, 30 minutes back to the parking lot. I'd be so sound asleep on the bus. Kids, and even once or twice the bus driver would have to wake me up so I could get off the bus. Now, when we were 16 or so and we had licenses, the beach became our place for partying. I grew up in a lovely, lovely community called Westport, Massachusetts, southeastern Massachusetts. It had 15 miles of coastline, beautiful beaches, sand dunes, all kinds of beaches. So once we had our licenses, in the summer, we'd drive around in our cars with the windows down, trying to smell smoke. Because if you could smell smoke, you could follow the smoke, or if you saw smoke, you could follow the smoke to a beach bonfire party. And these were great. There could be 20, 30, 40 kids around a beach bonfire. It was great fun. And mostly what we did at these parties was laying around on damp blankets in the sand, making out. And that was great fun. But as the night wore on, and I was getting tired, those damp blankets in the sand became a nice place to have a nap also. Now, there's a funny incident. A few years later, I was a little bit older, I was at one of these beach bonfire parties, a big one, 50, 60 people around this huge bonfire. And I look across, I see my mother. My mother's at this party. Not only is she at this party, I'm maybe 18 or so, not only is my mother at this party, but she's on the other side of the bonfire, choking on a joint, smoking pot. So I wander over to her and said, "Mom, I didn't know you smoked pot." She said, "I didn't know you smoked pot." So in the summers, after dinner, we would sit in the yard, smoke a joint together, and have a couple of beers. Now, my mother was widowed in her mid-50s, and she worked with a lot of younger people, so they would take her to parties, and I guess that's how she became a pot smoker. Now, back to high school. In the winters, we would have ice skating parties, because in this beautiful town of Westport, Massachusetts, there were a lot of farms. It was a dairy farming, lobster fishing community. So on the farms, the friends that lived on farms often had small ponds on the farms. Ponds on the farms.
Thank you.
And so they would freeze and we'd have ice skating parties, maybe 12, 15 kids. But because it was cold, you know, winter in Massachusetts, many of the kids would leave their cars running with the heater on. So many of teenage couples would be in the back seat of those cars, steaming them up with sensual pleasure. But I would find an empty car, go in the back seat, and have a nice nap when it was time for me to call it a night. Now, my venue for partying changed when I went off to college. I went to Bridgewater State University, about 30 miles south. Bridgewater State College then is Bridgewater State University now, about 30 miles south of Boston, better known as Bridgewater State. And it was a liberal arts teacher training institution where the ratio of girls to boys was 3 to 1, 3 girls for every boy. But we had a solution to that for our parties. On weekend nights, we girls, who all came from maybe a 50-mile radius to go to that college, would invite the boys from our hometowns, from our high schools, that were either going to college somewhere else nearby or not going to college at all. So the word spread, a lot of girls on this campus. Dozens and dozens and dozens, many dozens of boys would show up on a Friday or Saturday night bringing cheap beer, sweet liqueurs like Sloe Gin or Amaretto or Southern Comfort, and the parties would begin. But we couldn't party in the dorms. The dorm mothers weren't going to allow that. But this was a small rural town, Bridgewater, Mass., small rural town. So we would wander into town and find a churchyard, would often have a Revolutionary War cemetery in the back, and we would drink there. And we wouldn't bother anyone. It was quiet. No one threw us out. But the good news about that was, when everyone was partying and I'd had enough partying time, I could just walk back to my dorm, not a long walk back to my dorm, and call it a night when I was ready to say the night was over. Now, we got a little more sophisticated as college years went on. We would go to the discos in Boston. And the discos of the 1970s were really cool, and Boston had some amazing discos. So I would put on my bright-colored polyester pantsuit. And, the music was great. The lights were psychedelic. It was just so much fun dancing, disco dancing to the music. The problem was the girlfriends that I would ride with to the disco would want to stay till the disco closed at 1 a.m. I can't do that. So many a night you would find me curled up in a padded booth in the disco, fast asleep at maybe 10:30 or 11, until it was time to leave. They would wake me up, walk me out to the car so we could go back to the campus. Now, in the summers, all of us girls would go back to our hometowns where we have jobs in offices or stores or factories, whatever. And, but many a night after work, weeknights, we would have parties in Newport, Rhode Island. My hometown was on the Rhode Island border, so I was maybe 20 minutes from Newport, Rhode Island. I don't know if you know about Newport, but it had been a city with a lot of wealth. It had all these mansions of the robber barons of the Gilded Age. There was the Vanderbilt Mansion, there was the Astor Mansion, there was the Bouvier Mansion, as in Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. So we found this deserted, all these mansions were deserted now, we found this wonderful deserted mansion at the end of a very, very long road. It was a 2-story marble building with a wraparound porch right on the ocean. So right after work, 4:30, 5 o'clock, we would drive there, drive down the long road. We'd bring folding chairs, we'd bring food, we'd bring lots of liquor, and we would have a party there at this mansion, pretending we lived there, this was our mansion. But we were good, it was locked, we never broke in, we never disturbed it. The police never once found us. But what was great, we could go swimming and party. What was great about this is we would have to leave before dark. So this party would be like 5 to 8, 5 to 8:30. We have to leave before dark in order to get out of this very windy, deserted road to get home. So I could be home 20 minutes later from Newport. I could be home by 8:30 or 9, fast asleep after an afternoon party. Now, there was a party in 1973 that really did change my life forever. At Bridgewater, I was a history major with an education minor. I was wanting to get the bachelor's degree in history, but get my certification to be a high school history teacher, because I was bound and determined to be a high school history teacher back at my Westport High School. So I was student teaching at Westport High School in the fall, and at the end of that year, there was a Christmas party for the Westport High School teachers, and because I was student teaching there, I was invited. Oh, and I felt so excited and so sophisticated. I was going to party with the people that had been my teachers just a couple of years before and were going to be my colleagues a couple of years later. Oh, this was great. And the party was at a Holiday Inn a few towns away, because Westport to this day does not have, 15 miles of coast now, does not have one motel or hotel in town. They zone against it. They don't want tourists. Anyway, so the party was a couple of towns over at the Holiday Inn. But it was a pool party, indoor pool. I didn't know it was a pool party. Everyone else had brought bathing suits. I didn't bring a bathing suit. I was partying. I was drinking. So I jumped into the pool in my matching yellow and pink polka-dotted bra and panties. No one would have known I wasn't in a bikini. It could have been a bikini. No one would have known. But I'd been partying. I'd been drinking. So I started mouthing off, I'm swimming in my bra and panties. I'm swimming in my bra and panties. The next day, all the phones were ringing in this small town. I mean, it was a town of Puritan descendants. Everyone in town was talking about how embarrassing I'd been, what a fool I'd made of myself. I would never, ever, ever get a teaching job in that town. So it changed my life forever. Now, in college, I also was captain of my college debate team, much to Chuck's chagrin. Does he ever win an argument?
No.
I say, that's fallacy number 17. Where's your evidence? Anyway, I was captain of my debate team. And during the school year, many a weekend, we go on debate tournaments all over the East Coast. I mean, we could go on tournaments in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. And on the Saturday, we'd be rehearsing our debates, and we'd be participating in, debate tournament to see if we could win trophies or be the best debate team there. But on Saturday nights, there would be some 200 or more kids, college kids from these schools, staying at local motels. So this was great. Loud parties, raucous parties. We could go from room to room at the motels, drinking, smoking pot, having a great time. And the adults that were with us, the debate coaches, they were either graduate students or young professors themselves that were having their own parties. So the management at the motel didn't care, the adults didn't care. Great place to party. But again, wonderful place for me to party, because I could drink and get high and party and meet kids from colleges all over the East, but then stumble back to my motel room by 9:30 or 10 when I had called it a night and had enough fun. Now, when I was in graduate school in Bowling Green State University in Ohio, my professor who became my dissertation advisor would have parties for us graduate students at his house with his wife. After the second or third party, he took me aside and said, Cindy, you're a really, really good drinker for a little person. I'm really impressed. Thank you. So he announced in class the next week, and our classes were at night from 6 to 9, the graduate classes. He announced in class there's going to be a drinking contest after class next week between Cindy and another girl, Carolyn. So after class at 9, we walk into town, we go to the local bar, and all the classmates come, and they're buying us drinks. And they're also betting. Money is accumulating on the table. They're betting who's going to win this drinking contest. And Carolyn and I are chugging beers as fast as we can. She drank 12 beers. I drank 11 beers. I came close. I almost won, but I lost. Don't know how I got home that night. I don't know. But I'm sure I slept very well. I probably slept 10, 12, maybe 14 hours that night. Wasn't sick, I was fine, but I'm sure I slept very well. Now, in the years that Chuck and I lived in Cincinnati, and I was a professor at the University of Cincinnati, did I just hear yay? Someone likes Cincinnati? Oh. Anyway, I would go to conferences twice a year, and these were national conferences. They could be in San Francisco, they could be in Chicago, they could be in Miami, all expense paid. The college would pay your way, and so this was great. Now, during the days, we had serious study. We'd go to meetings, we'd go to seminars. We'd present our own research that we might be doing, be talking about important books in our field. But at night, there were all kind of wonderful parties. And you'd hear during the day, tonight at 7 o'clock in Suite 200 at the Hilton, Arizona State is throwing a party. Anybody could come. Or tomorrow night at 7:30, Northwestern's throwing a party at the Marriott, a ballroom. So we'd go to these parties at night. All kinds of food, all kinds of great liquor, a way to chat with colleagues from around the nation. But the same thing like the debate parties. I could just stumble back to my hotel room, party at the hotel I was at, stumble back and call it a night. Now, when Chuck and I were raising kids in Cincinnati, we belonged to a Unitarian Universalist church. And they had fundraisers where church members would throw a party and people would buy tickets, pay money to go to the party, but the money would all go to the church. And our parties were popular. We had a lot of people that wanted to come to our parties. We had a nice house, a nice big house and a big yard, so we could have 30 or more people to a party. I love to cook. I still love to cook, so we had a lot of good food, a lot of good liquor, and we raised a lot of money for the church with these parties. But the good thing about this was we were throwing the party. So we could start it at 5 and end it at 8. We could start it at 4, end it at 7:30. We had a lot of fun. Now in retirement, been retired for almost 18 years. In retirement, what a great time to party. Day drinking. You're not working anymore. You can drink during the day. So in the 18 or almost 18 years that we've lived in Greater Asheville, I've been organizing a beer group. All the great breweries around here, of course you have to have a beer group. So once a month, now maybe once every other month, we meet at a brewery, and we meet at 4 o'clock, and we could have 5 friends with us. We could have 20 friends that show up, and we drink till about 6. I can be home by 6:30, cook dinner, be laying in bed watching TV or reading a book by 7:30 and asleep by 9 or 9:30. It's perfect.
That is true.
One party we had in retirement that was wonderful. It was a margarita tasting party. I made 12 different types of margaritas. Now, we had a lot of friends there. No one was drinking 12 margaritas. Someone might have a third of a margarita. But I researched and made all kind of recipes, 12 different margaritas. And the one that won the best margarita was blackberry basil margarita. You need to try it. Again, early party, drink our margaritas, be asleep by 9 or 9:30. So I have been a party animal. Been partying since teenage years up through now. I have been a sleep geek, sleeping 10 or more hours my whole life. And oh my God, it's almost 8:30 now. Thank you for listening. I need to get home and go to bed.
Cindy Berryman-Fink. I see you smiling. You ought to go, oh my God, she's married to him for 46 years? Good. Folks, I want to thank you so much for enjoying tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it? All right, good. And before we leave, I would invite all 4 women to come up here, and I want to hear you all give your appreciation and applause to them. And I'll step away.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, let's bow. Thank you.
Fearless women, wise sisters. Thank you so much, everybody. And there's a lot more stuff happening here. I hope to see you October the 13th with the 4 tellers I spoke of. And Ray Christian and I are going to be at the Weaverville Community Center 2 days